Canto 24. Her words done, she began her song again. Beati curarum tecta sunt peccata, as if in love when love is free of pain. As nymphs of old went wandering alone through the deep shaded woodlands, some pursuing and others seeking to evade the sun, so then she started up the riverside. And on my own bank I kept pace with her, matching her little steps with shortened stride. Some 50 paces each we moved this way when both banks curved as one, and now I found my face turned to the cradle of the day. Nor had we gone as far again, all told, beyond the curve, when she turned to me saying, "Dear brother, look and listen and behold. Through all that everlasting forest burst an instantaneous flood of radiance. I took it for a lightning flash at first, but lightning comes and goes. The light I saw not only stayed on, but grew more resplendent. What can this be? I asked myself in awe. And a sweet melody filled the bright air, so sweet that I reproached in righteous zeal Eve's fatal recklessness. How could she dare? One woman alone, made but a moment since all heaven and earth obedient, to refuse the one veil willed by high omnipotence, beneath which had she stayed God's acolyte. I should have known before then, and for longer, those raptures of ineffable delight. My soul hung tranced in joy beyond all measure and yearning for yet more as I moved on through those first fruits of the eternal pleasure. When under the green boughs that spread before us, the air became ablaze, and the sweet sound we had been hearing grew into a chorus. O holy, holy virgins, if for you I ever suffered vigils cold or fasts, occasion spurs me now to claim my due. Empty all Helicon, now's the time. Urania, help me here with your full choir to bring things scarce conceivable to rhyme. I saw next far ahead what I believed were 7 golden trees, at such a distance and in such light the eye can be deceived. But in a while when I had drawn so near that chance resemblances, confused by distance, no longer made false images appear. That power that reaps for reasons Mill could see that they were candelabra, and in the chant it heard the word Hosanna ringing free. Above the gold array flamed 7 times 7 candles more lucent than the mid-month moon at midnight in the calm of clearest heaven. I turned about amazed at what I saw to my good Virgil, and he answered me in silence with a look of equal awe. I turned back then to those sublimities that were approaching at so slow a pace that new brides might outdistance them with ease. The lady cried, "Why have you set your mind so fixedly upon those living lights that you do not observe what comes behind?" Then I saw people walking like attendants behind their lords, and clothed in robes so white, earth has no snow of such a pure resplendence. Upon my left, the polished river shone bright as a mirror, and when I looked in, I saw my left side there perfectly drawn. And when I had moved close enough to be kept at a distance by no more than water, I halted my slow steps better to see. I saw the flames advance, leaving the air painted behind, as if by massive strokes or by bright pennons they were trailing there. Thus all the trailing heavens were aglow with 7 bands of light of the same color as Delia's girdle or Apollo's bow. Those bands stretched back further than I could see in the distance, separating side from side came to 10 paces, as it seemed to me. And there, advancing 2 by 2 beneath that 7 striped sky, came 4 and 20 elders, each crowned in glory with a lily wreath. And all sang with one voice triumphantly, Blessed art thou among the daughters of Adam, blessed thy beauty to eternity. And when those souls elect, as in a dream, had left behind the flowers and the new grass that shone before me there across the stream, as star follows on star in the serene of heaven's height, there came on at their backs 4 beasts, and these wore wreaths of living green. Each had 3 pairs of wings, and every pair was full of eyes. Were Argus living yet, his eyes would be most like what I saw there. I cannot spend my rhymes as liberally as I should like to in describing them, for reader, other needs are pressing me. But read Ezekiel, where he sets forth how they appeared to him in a great storm of wind and cloud and fire out of the north. And such as he recounts, such did I see, except that in the number of their wings John differs with him and agrees with me. Within the space they guarded there came on a burnished 2-wheeled chariot in triumph, and harnessed to the neck of a great griffin, excuse me, whose wings upraised into the bands of light enclosed the middle one so perfectly they cut no part of those left to left or right. Higher than sight, its wing tips soared away, its bird-like parts were gold, and white the rest with blood-red markings. Will it serve to say, Rome never saw such a comparison? No, not for Africanus, nor yet Augustus. The sun's own would seem shabby by comparison. Yes, even the sun's own chariot, which strayed and was destroyed in fire by Jove's dark justice that day, the frightened earth devoutly prayed. Beside the right wheel, dancing in a gyre, 3 maidens came. The first one was so red she would be barely visible in fire. The second looked as if both flesh and bone were made of flawless emerald. The third seemed a new snow no slightest wind has blown. And now the white one led the dance, and now the red, and from the song the red one sang, the others took their measure fast or slow. Beside the left wheel, dancing in a flame of purple robes, and led by one who had 3 eyes within her head, 4 glad nymphs came. Behind these 7 came on side by side 2 elders, different in dress, but both by the same massive bearing dignified. One showed he was a follower of the art of great Hippocrates, whom nature made to heal the creatures dearest to her heart. The other, his counterpart, carried a blade so sharp and bright that, at the sight of it, even across the stream, I was afraid. Next, I saw 4 who walked with humble mien, and last of all, one who moved in a trance as if asleep, but his face was firm and keen. These 7 were robed like the first 24, in flowing robes of white, but for their crowns it was not wreaths of lilies that they wore, but roses, and whatever blooms most red. One would have sworn, seeing them at a distance, that they were wearing flames about the head. And when the chariot had reached the place across from me, I heard a thunderclap, that seemed a signal to those souls in grace, for there in unison with the exalted first flaming standards, all that pageant halted. Oh, I think the last one was 29, because I'm at Canto 30. Canto 30. When the septentrion of the first heaven, which does not rise nor set, and which has never been veiled from sight by any mist but sin, and which made every soul in that high court know its true course, just as the lower seven direct the helmsman to his earthly port, had stopped the holy prophets who till then had walked between the griffin and those lights, turned to the car like souls who cry, Amen. And one among them who seemed sent from heaven, clarion, veni sponsa di Libano, 3 times, with all the others joining in. As at the last trump, every saint shall rise out of the grave, ready with voice new flesh, to carol Alleluia to the skies. Just so above the chariot, at the voice of such an elder, rose 100 powers and principles of the eternal joys, all sang together Benedictus qui venis, then scattering flowers about on every side, Manibus odate lilia plenis. Time and again at daybreak I have seen the eastern sky glow with a wash of rose, while all the rest hung limpid and serene, and the sun's face rise tempered from its rest, so veiled by vapors that the naked eye could look at it for minutes undistressed. Exactly so within a cloud of flowers that rose like fountains from the angel's hands, and fell about the chariot in showers. A lady came in view, in olive crown wreathed, her immaculate veil, her cloak was green, the colors of live flame played on her gown. My soul, such years had passed since last it saw that lady, and stood trembling in her presence, stupefied by the power of holy awe. Now by some power that shone from her above, the reach and witness of my mortal eyes felt the full mastery of enduring love. The instant I was smitten by the force which had already once transfixed my soul before my boyhood years had run their course, I turned left with the same assured belief that makes a child run to its mother's arms when it is frightened or has come to grief. To say to Virgil, there is not within me one drop of blood unstirred, I recognize the tokens of the ancient flame, but he had taken his light from us. He had gone. Virgil had gone. Virgil, the gentle father to whom I gave my soul for its salvation. Not all that sight of Eden lost to view by our first mother could hold back the tears that stained my cheeks so lately washed with dew. Dante, do not weep yet, though Virgil goes. Do not weep yet, for soon another wound shall make you weep far hotter tears than those. As an admiral takes his place at sterner bow, to observe the handling of his other ships, and spur all hands to do their best, so now, on the chariot's left side I saw appear, when I turned at the sound of my own name, which necessarily is recorded here, that lady who had been half veiled from view by the flowers of the angel revels, now her eyes fixed me across the stream, piercing me through. And though the veil she still wore, held in place by the wreathed flowers of wise Minerva's leaves, let me see only glimpses of her face. Her stern and regal bearing made me dread her next words, for she spoke as one who saves the heaviest charge till all the rest are read. Look at me well, I am she, I am Beatrice. How dared you make your way to this high mountain? Did you not know that here man lives in bliss? I lowered my head and looked down at the stream, but when I saw myself reflected there, I fixed my eyes upon the grass for shame. I shrank as a wayward child in his distress shrinks from his mother's sternness, for the taste of love grown wrathful is a bitterness. She paused. At once the angel chorus sang the blessed psalm, In te domine speravi, as far as Pedis Meos, their voices rang. As on the spine of Italy the snow lies frozen hard among the living rafters in winter when the northeast tempests blow. Then melting if so much as a breath stir from the land of shadowless noon flows through itself like hot wax trickling down a lighted taper. Just so I froze too, cold for sighs or tears, until I heard that choir whose notes are tuned to the eternal music of the spheres. But when I heard the voice of their compassion plead for me more than if they had cried out, Lady, why do you treat him in this fashion? The ice, which hard about my heart had pressed, turned into breath and water, and flowed out through eyes and throat in anguish from my breast. Still standing at the chariot's left side, she turned to those compassionate essences whose song had sought to move her and replied, You keep your vigil in the eternal day, where neither night nor sleep obscures from you a single step the world takes on its way. But I must speak with greater care, that he who weeps on that far bank may understand and feel a grief to match his guilt not only by the workings of the spheres that bring each seed to its fit end according to the stars that ride above it, but by gifts decreed in the largesse of overflowing grace, whose rain has such high vapors for its source, our eyes cannot mount to their dwelling place. This man potentially was so endowed from early youth that marvelous increase should have come forth from every good he sowed. But richest soil the soonest will grow wild with bad seed and neglect. For a while I stayed him with glimpses of my face, turning my mild and youthful eyes into his very soul. I let him see their shining, and I led him by the straight way, his face to the right goal. The instant I had come upon the sill of my second age, and crossed and changed my life, he left me and let others shape his will. When I rose from the flesh into the spirit, to greater beauty and to greater virtue, he found less pleasure in me and less merit. He turned his steps aside from the true way, pursuing the false images of good that promise would they never wholly pay. Not all the inspiration I won by prayer and brought to him in dreams and meditations could call him back, so little did he care. He fell so far from every hope of bliss that every means of saving him had failed except to let him see the damned. For this I visited the portals of the dead and poured my tears and prayers before that spirit by whom his steps have up to now been led. The seal Almighty God's decree has placed on the rounds of his creation would be broken were he to come past Lethe and to taste the water that wipes out the guilty years without some scot of penitential tears. Canto 31. You there, who stand upon the other side, turning to me now, who had thought the edge of her discourse was sharp. The point, she cried, without pause, in her flow of eloquence. Speak up, is it true? To such a charge, your own confession must give evidence. I stood as if my spirit had turned numb. The organ of my speech moved, but my voice died in my throat before a word could come. Briefly she paused, then cried impatiently, "What are you thinking? Speak up, for the waters have yet to purge sin from your memory." Confusion joined to terror forced a broken yes from my throat, so weak that only one who read my lips would know that I had spoken. As an arbalist will snap when string and bow are drawn too tight by the bowman, and the bolt will strike the target a diminished blow. So did I shatter, strengthless and unstrung under her charge, pouring out floods of tears while my voice died in me on the way to my tongue. And she, filled as you were with the desire I taught you for that good beyond which nothing exists on earth, to which man may aspire. What yawning moats, or what stretched chain lengths lay across your path to force you to abandon all hope of pressing further on your way? What increase or allurement seemed to show in the brows of others that you walked before them as a lover walks below his lady's window? My breath dragged from me in a bitter sigh. I barely found a voice to answer with. My lips had trouble forming a reply. In tears I said the things of the world's day, false pleasures and enticements turned my steps. As soon as you had ceased to light my way, and she, had you been silent or denied what you confess your guilt, would still be known to him from whom no guilt may hope to hide. But here before our court, when souls upbraid themselves for their own guilt and true remorse, the grindstone is turned back against the blade. In any case, that you may know your crime truly and with true shame, and so be stronger against the siren's song another time. Control your tears and listen with your soul to learn how my departure from the flesh ought to have spurred you to the higher goal. Nothing in art or nature could call forth such joy from you as sight of that fair body, which clothed me once and now sifts back to earth. And if my dying turned that highest pleasure to very dust, what joy could still remain in mortal things for you to seek and treasure? At the first blow you took from such vain things, your very thought should have been raised to follow my flight above decay. Nor should your wings have been weighed down by any joy below, love of a maid or any other fleeting and useless thing, to wait a second blow. The fledgling waits a second shaft, a third, but nets are spread and the arrows sped in vain, in sight or hearing of the full-grown bird. As a scolded child, tongue-tied for shame, will stand and recognize his fault, and weep for it, bowing his head to a just reprimand, so did I stand, and she said, "If to hear me grieves you, now raise your beard, and let your eyes show you a greater cause for misery. The blast that blows from Libya's hot sand or the alpine gale overcomes less resistance, uprooting oaks than I at her command. Overcame then in lifting up my face, for when she had referred to it as my beard, I sensed too well the venom of her phrase. When I had raised my eyes with so much pain, I saw those primal beings now at rest, who had strewn blossoms around round her thick as rain. And with my tear blurred and uncertain vision, I saw her turned to face that beast which is one person in two natures without division. Even veiled in across the river from me, her face outshone its first self by as much as she outshone all mortals formerly. And the thorns of my repentance pricked me so that all the use and substance of the world I most had loved now most appeared my foe. Such guilty recognition gnawed my heart, I swooned for pain in what I then became. She best knows who most gave me cause to smart. When I returned to consciousness at last, I found the lady who had walked alone bent over me. Hold fast, she said, hold fast. She had drawn me into the stream up to my throat, and pulling me behind her, she sped on over the water, light as any boat. Nearing the sacred bank, I heard her say in tones so sweet I cannot call them back, much less describe them here, Aspergus may. Then the sweet lady took my head between her open arms and embracing me, she dipped me and made me drink the waters that make clean. Then raising me in my new purity, she led me to the dance of the four maidens, each raised an arm, and so joined hands above me. Here we are nymphs, stars are we in the skies, ere Beatrice went to earth. We were ordained her handmaids, we will lead you to her eyes, but that your own may see what joyous light shines in them, yonder three, who see more deeply will sharpen and instruct your mortal sight. Thus they sang, then led me to the griffin. Behind him Beatrice waited, and when I stood at the griffin's breast, they said in unison, look deep, look well, however your eyes may smart. We have led you now before those emeralds, from which love shot his arrows through your heart. 1,000 burning passions, every one hotter than any flame, held my eyes fixed to the lucent eyes she held fixed on the griffin. Like sunlight in a glass, the twofold creature shone from the deep reflection of her eyes, now in the one, now in the other nature. Judge, reader, if I found it passing strange to see the thing unaltered in itself, yet in its image working change on change. And while my soul in wonder and delight was savoring that food which in itself both satisfies and quickens appetite, the other three, whose bearing made it clear they were of a higher rank, came toward me dancing to the measure of their own angelic air. Turn, Beatrice, oh turn, the eyes of grace was their refrain, upon your faithful one who comes so far to look upon your face. Grant us this favor of your grace, reveal your mouth to him, and let his eyes behold the second beauty which your veils conceal. O splendor of the eternal living light, who that has drunk deep of Parnassus's waters, or grown pale in the shadow of its height, would not still feel his burning genius fail, attempting to describe in any tongue how you appeared when you put by your veil in that free air open to heaven and earth, whose harmony is your shining shadowed forth. Canto 32. My eyes were fixed with such intensity on quenching at long last their 10 years' thirst, that every sense but sight abandoned me. Tranced by the holy smile that drew me there into the old nest, I forgot all else. My eyes wore blinders, and I could not care. When suddenly my gaze was wrenched away and forced to turn left to those goddesses he stares too fixedly, I heard them say. And as a man is blinded by the light when he has looked directly at the sun, just so I found that I had lost my sight. when I could make out lesser, I mean, of course, less sensible objects, as compared to the greater from which I had been called away by force. I saw the legion of those souls in grace had turned right wheel about and marched back now with the sun and the 7 torches in its face. As forward troops, when they are giving ground, turn under their shields, and their standards face about before the rest of the column has turned around. Just so the vanguard of that heavenly force had all gone by before the chariot had swung its pole around to the new course. Then to their wheels the ladies turned together, and the griffin once more pulled the sacred car, not ruffling so much as a single feather. Excuse me. Stadius and I followed across that park with the lady who had led me through the ford, behind the wheel that turned the lesser arc. We marched across the sacred wood, which she who heeded a forked tongue had left deserted, our steps timed by angelic melody. We had moved on, I think, about as far as 3 good bow shots end to end might reach, when Beatrice descended from the car. Adam, I heard all murmur, censoring him. Then they all formed a circle around a tree that bore no leaf nor flower on any limb. It soared so high that even in woods like these the Indians know it would have seemed a wonder. And the crown spread out the more it rose. The crown spread out the more it rose. Blessed art thou, Griffin, whose beak hath rent no morsel of the sweet wood of this tree, for it grips the belly with a raging torment. So shouted all the others as they stood about the tree, and the two-natured being thus is preserved, the seed of every good. Then he drew up before the widowed mast, the chariot's pole, and what came from the tree he gave it back and tied the 2 stems fast, as in the spring on earth, when the great light falls mingled with the rays of those sweet stars that follow Pisces into heaven's height. The trees begin to swell, then burgeon full, each one on its own hue, before the sun harnesses his team beneath the bowl. Just so the boughs that had been bare before took color, turning something less than rose and more than violet as they bloomed once more. The hymn I heard those blessed souls sing then is not sung here, nor did I understand it, nor did I hear it through the Amen. Could I portray the eyes of Argus here, lulled one by drowsy tales of syrinx, that time their pitiless watch cost him so dear? As a painter paints his model, I would try to show exactly how I fell asleep, but who can image drowsiness? Not I. Therefore I pass to my waking and declare, a radiance tore the veil of sleep, a voice cried out, arise, what are you doing there? When they were shown the flowering of that tree that makes the angels hungry for its fruit and sets a feast in heaven eternally, Peter, John, and James, all stricken, fell into a sleep from which they were recalled by the same word that broke a greater spell, and saw their company reduced as both Moses and Elijah vanished from them, and saw the master's robe change back to cloth. Just so did I awaken from my dream to find bent over me the compassionate lady who had conducted me along the stream. Fearful, I cried out, Beatrice, where is she? And the lady, she is seated on the roots of the new foliage, as you can see. Encircled by the 7 shining graces, the others mount to heaven behind the griffin, intoning sweeter and profounder praises. If she said more, her words were lost on me, for now my eyes were fixed once more on Beatrice, my senses closed to all that was not she. She sat on the bare earth alone, left there to guard the chariot that the biformed beast had fastened to the tree with such great care. A living cloister ringing her about, the 7 nymphs stood, holding in their hands those candles no wind ever shall blow out. Here, briefly in this forest shall you dwell, and evermore with me be of that Rome in which Christ is a Roman. Hence, look well there at the great car, and that you may be a light to the dark world, when you return, set down exactly all that you shall see. Thus Beatrice and I, devoutly bent at the feet of her commands, turned mind and eye as she had willed, in all obedient. No flash from densest clouds when the rains fall from the remotest reaches of the sky ever shot down as fast as the squall, as did the bird of Jove that I saw break down through the tree, ripping the flowers, the leaves, even the bark, with its fierce claws and beak. He struck the chariot a tremendous blow, at which it lurched like a storm-battered ship, now rolled to port, now starboard, to and fro. Next came a fox, so gaunt and angular it seemed to know no fit food, and it pounced upon the cab of the triumphal car. But threatening all its filthy sins with woe, my lady sent it reeling back from there as fast as such a bag of bones could go. Then through the tree I saw the bird descend once more into the car, and shed its plumes to feather it in gold from end to end. And from the sky, as if a heart let slip all of its grief in one sound, a voice cried, "Oh, what a load you bear, my little ship!" Then as I watched, I saw a fissure split the earth between the two wheels, and a dragon rise to the car and sink its tail in it, much as an angry wasp draws back its stinger. It drew its tail back, ripping the car's floor, and wandered off as if it meant to linger. Like rich soil left to weeds, what then remained covered itself with feathers, which no doubt had been intended to burnish what they stained. And both the wheels and the pole were overgrown, and all the car to the last part, and all in less time than the lips part for a moan. So changed, the holy ark began to sprout heads from its various parts, 3 from the pole, 1 from each corner, 7 in all grew out. The 3 were horned like oxen, but the 4 were each armed with a single evil horn. No one had seen the monsters like before. Secure as a great fortress on a crag, an ungirt harlot rode the beast, her eyes darting with avarice, beside that hag, and ready to risk all to keep her his. A giant strode erect, and as they passed from time to time, the two exchanged a kiss. But when she turned her hungry eyes on me, her savage lover, in a bestial rage, whipped her from head to foot unmercifully. Then in a jealous fit, the brute untied the monster from the tree and dragged it off into the woods, far toward the other side, until between me and that doxy queen on her weird beast, he made the trees a screen.